All right, well, yesterday we were out trolling, and combination of factors with the wind and the boat traffic, we had to make some tighter turns than we usually do, and one of the fishing lines got back here into the propeller. So the purpose of this video is to demonstrate how to get it out. But I want to mention that it's important to pray for wisdom when undertaking mechanical tasks. I confess I'm not really the most mechanically inclined person, so when it comes to boat and motor maintenance, one of the things I pray for is the wisdom to know which tasks to tackle myself and which tasks are better off bringing it to a mechanic for some good boat shops in the area that I use. But this is a relatively simple task, so I believe that I can not only do it myself, but since I've done it several times before, had this boat and motor for say 14 years, and this is about the third time it's happened. And first, let me say, as a principle of wisdom, it's much safer to do this on land. You know, a time or two I've done it or tried to do it out there on the water. You lift the motor up, you reach way over the back of the boat, and you're mucking about with the propeller and trying to unwind the fishing line or take the propeller off, and that's kind of dangerous. So I like to do it out here on the land. But you don't want to operate the boat too much with the fishing line wrapped in the propeller there, because it can get into the shaft, and this is like a braided line. Pretty tough stuff. It can also junk up the bearings depending on how it got in there. So here we're just removing the pin, and once you get the pin out, this nut comes off pretty easily. We have a wrench handy just in case we needed to wrench a little harder, but it came off. Keep all of our parts here: washer, nut, pin, prop comes off. See that the fishing line got kind of up in there a little bit, and then just unwind it. If it's really a mess, and sometimes depending on how long it took you to turn the motor off, and how much line it sucked up in there, you might have to take this part off, slide the big mess of tangled line out, and then put this part back on. But try and pay attention to how the parts go on and come off, so you can get it put back together the same way that it came apart. And looking at it, it doesn't look like there's any damage to the shaft. We caught it when we were fishing quick enough. It didn't really get up there in the bearing. It doesn't look like there's any damage to the bearing. And then just reverse the process, putting it back together. Prop, washer, nut. And these nuts are really held on by the pin. So I don't really like to crank down too much on them. The other thing about cranking down on them is the pin has to go through the slots on either side. So if you crank it down as much as you can, then the slots in the nut don't really line up with the hole. So I like to just have it finger tight, lining up the slots with the hole, and then put the pin through. Give the pin just a little bend so it can't go back through by accident, but you don't want to bend it too much, because at some point in the future you're going to need to push that pin back through and get it back off again. So if you twist it all the way around, you're probably going to have to break it off and need a new pin the next time. But this is a relatively simple task, taking the prop off, getting the fishing line out of there, getting the prop back on.